The name of the campaign is Unspoken. The aim of the campaign is to break the silence in society around women and drug addiction. After 26 years of working in frontline services, I realised that there were certain sectors of the community that had been marginalised. And as a result of that, the issues that they had around drug addiction, mental health, criminal justice issues were not being addressed. These people have been pretty much neglected. So Diversity in Care was founded to provide services and support for the underserved in our communities.
My habit in the hardcore years was about 8 or 9 years solid, and for 2 years it was kept secret. My family didn't even realise. They just thought I was doing a cleaning job. For me to fund my habit, first of all I ended up breaking into my savings to keep my habit going, plus also my partner's. And then my partner introduced me to the sex industry, into escort work, and I signed up with an agency, and I used to go see clients, 150 a time, and sometimes 3 to 4 clients a night. So, and it did. It wore me out spiritually.
Because we don't talk about drug addiction in a mature and open way, people are scared. Once you hear that somebody's got a drug addiction, people become scared. And when you don't talk about the problem, then it festers and it grows and it gets totally out of control, and then it explodes. So because of the neglect and the lack of specific services over the years, we now have 2, and in some cases 3 generations of families that have a drug problem.
There's a social stigma against women who have got criminal histories or addiction issues or mental health issues because it doesn't fit with the social paradigm of the female matriarchal role. So I suppose that as long as women are marginalised in this way, we do need special services provided for women.
I think there's such a stigma as to the woman, the mum, the mother of the house, as to her being more parental responsible compared to her male partner, compared to the children's dad, father, uncles, any male being within the household. And you're made to feel dirty, you're made to feel ashamed, you're made to feel that you have no means of value. And you know that, you just brush aside like dirt.
It was interesting. I think women face far greater challenges getting clean, I think for a number of reasons. Perhaps one obvious one is typically women are left to look after children. Men going into prison or men not taking responsibility for their children, that's sort of regarded as standard, as commonplace. We don't have any judgment against men who don't look after their kids. It's kind of normal part of our society, but a woman in the same position will be regarded as a pariah. So I think if women are regarded differently socially, they are going to need additional support.
The reason why I set up the charity Children of Addicted Parents and People was because I myself grew up with my mum's addiction to alcohol and prescribed painkillers for 15 years. And myself, growing up as a child, I felt incredibly isolated, I felt very alone, and I felt that I couldn't talk to friends and family about what was going on for me inside and all of the different emotions that I was feeling. So I really wanted to set up something that brought young people together so that they could find out that they're not alone in what they're going through, and speak to other young people who understand what they're going through and can offer support and advice to young people in similar situations. Young people growing up with a parent who has an addiction, what they experience is the parent themselves is unable to function as a parent in some ways. So this can involve a young person waking up in the morning, and before they even think about going to school, they've got to think about where is their mum, where is their dad? Has their mum or dad been on a binge the night before? Did their mum or dad have a violent argument the night before? Is mum safe? They might not have had a chance to do their homework. They might be worried about their young sibling who's not at school yet, and they might want to protect their young sibling, and they might not even actually want to go to school. So there's all these different issues that young people are faced with on a daily basis.
At the time, I wasn't even interested in my children. It's like as if I was paying my oldest daughter to be mum, to be mother to my youngest daughter. And the fact of the fact of not baking cakes, the fact of not doing mother and daughter things, the fact of even sometimes not even going to their assemblies, or going to children's parties with them, just sending them along with gifts, and then for me just to stay indoors doing my drugs.
So many people in society see that addiction is a moral failing. They see that the parent just needs to pull their socks up, or their parent is choosing the addiction. It can be a cycle, and that parent is suffering. That parent has experienced their own abuse, and that might be why they picked up the bottle or the substance.
The reason that I'm integrally involved with the Give It Up campaign is because I believe strongly that abstinence-based recovery is the solution for people with drug and alcohol problems. I don't think there's enough awareness of this. I think people look at methadone maintenance programs, and more importantly perhaps don't even consider addiction as an illness, focusing more on the judicial criminal aspect of it.
Prison has become a warehouse for women, and there are times where the offence that the woman has committed could be played out in a community programme. At the end of the day, we're not saying that women shouldn't be punished for their criminal behaviour, but sometimes going to prison doesn't justify the crime. And I think that taxpayers' money would be better spent if the woman was able to access services in the community, while at the same time maybe doing community service.
Although there have been ministers of women, ministers looking after women's affairs, ministers responsible for women's justice, allegedly, it still has not produced somebody who is responsible and accountable for seeing that things happen. And that is why, over the years, if you look at the performance of prisons, instead of doing that, or that, or that, they do that according to a governor who's a good one, and then you get somebody who drops all that. There's no consistency. And this is why there's such uneven treatment of women, and such, I think, uneven treatment of staff, which is even more important, plus the lack of investment in programs that work, because people aren't going to come in and invest if they know that 2 years' time what they're doing may be dropped by some other person. Prison is the last resort for women. I mean, I don't see prison as being appropriate except in very extreme circumstances.
With all my financial issues and using the last bit of my savings, I put money into the means of me doing importation with another person involved. And unfortunately, on my way back from Jamaica, I've got caught with quite a bit of drugs, and I end up being locked up in Holloway prison. And that's probably the longest I was even clean.
60% of women leave prison with nowhere to go. They're actually homeless. The devastation is that once they're given a fine or the case is thrown out, or they go back into the community, and that's where the problem starts. When they go back into the community, if they don't have a supportive family, it means that they have nowhere to go.
And you imagine a woman coming out of prison, reuniting with her children, with nowhere to take them, all her property's gone, and she's got 46 quid in her pocket. Come on, wake up.
So if you're homeless, it means that you can't access certain services, you can't get back to work, you can't enter education, you certainly can't take care of a child if you have a child. So therefore the cycle continues. If we can integrate and join up all the services, we can break that cycle.
We run to quite a tight timescale within FDAC. The first 3 months, we try to get the parents stabilised. They may be on a methadone prescription, they may be controlled drinking, although we don't like controlled drinking, we think that's too risky. But we try to get them stable, and we want them to be abstinent. If they're still with us after 3 months, and some of them have gone by then, we then start working on the triggers, understanding their relationship with drugs and or alcohol, and working on relapse prevention. If they're still with us after 6 months, and some more of them have gone by then, because they just can't do it, then we start working on the parenting issues for the next 3 months, because ideally we would like the child to be being tried at home at the end of 9 months, so that we can have 3 months of the child safely at home before we sign them out of the process. And then we make a supervision order. We expect the local authority to continue to monitor and support for another year, just to make sure that all the time and effort that has gone into helping this family get stable doesn't begin to wobble or slip back. We've had a number of parents who put their hands up at the end of the process and said, I understand why I can't do this, and let their children go into an alternative placement. It might be a kinship placement, it might be foster care, it might be adoption. And then some of them have got pregnant again and come back and said, I have a better understanding of what I've got to do. Please, could I have another crack at this? And some of them are doing better second time round.
Now and after my addiction, my relationship with my oldest daughter is very hard at times, where name calling still, you're just a crackhead junkie, and the fact of also I feel a little bit of lack of trust from her as well, the fact that she feels I let her down, and that I'm guilty as to where my other daughter is, who's still in foster care.
What we would really like to do is to have houses where we can place these mothers. This is different from an assessment centre, but mothers who go back to violent situations, to council estates where the drug dealers are knocking on the door all through the night, remain extremely vulnerable.
I've always been in favour of small units in each town, city, conurbation, if you like, because if you look at where the women come from, by and large they come from urban, not rural settings. And I like the idea of a women's centre. Ideally, it should contain a custody centre, but also contain workshops, education centres, treatment centres, creches, you know, which are the whole organisation, women specific. It needn't be big, but that should be the centre of all the activity surrounding women who happen to come into contact with the criminal justice system.
The reduction in services available to these families is extremely concerning.
Where I'm at now in my life, recognition. It is bloody hard to get recognition and the means of, I don't want a pat on my back no more. I don't want the fact of the extra hour, what the social workers are giving me for an extra hour contact with my youngest daughter who's still in foster care, 3 hours now every 2 months. That's not recognition for what I achieve. I am glad in the sense for where I am now. I struggle still at paying my bills. I see the means of people in their addiction, friends, good close friends of mine, and see women who are going through the treadmill what I went through in my life now at this stage. And I thank God and I thank myself and all the means of support I've had around me that I am not at that stage what they're going through now. Because I don't think I'll be able to survive it.
I've been very impressed with what I've heard about diversity in care. I think that multi-agency support is extremely important to the families that we are talking about. Too often I see cases where that kind of multi-agency support is not available, and some of these families desperately need the kind of support that diversity in care is offering.